Diving into something that's been getting a ton of buzz,
Mm-hmm.
the lean startup methodology.
Definitely a hot topic.
Yeah, but we always like to go a bit deeper than just, the surface level stuff.
Dive right in.
Exactly. So lean startup, think of it like a smarter way of building a business.
Absolutely less risk, more learning as you go.
Yeah, exactly, like validating your ideas before you invest years of your life into them.
I like that a lot of wasted time and energy saved.
And the sources we've got today, they seem like they're really good for someone who wants to get up to speed with this whole methodology.
Yeah, I think they're going to give us a good foundation.
Okay, cool. So let's break down the main principles,
All right, let's do it.
see how it works in practice,
Get into the nitty gritty.
and maybe even, spark some ideas for you listening out there.
Always a good thing.
So, one thing that really struck me about the lean startup,
Yeah, what is it?
it kind of flips the script on the whole, like, go big or go home mentality.
It definitely challenges the traditional approach.
Yeah, it's more about experimentation and, constantly adapting to what you learn.
Almost like being a scientist in a lab, but for your business.
It is very much a scientific approach.
Testing hypotheses, gathering data.
Yeah. And speaking of that, the build, measure, learn cycle.
That's the core of it.
That's like the heart of the whole lean startup thing.
Absolutely. It's the engine that drives the whole process.
And each step is super important.
Yeah, you can't really skip any of them.
So let's break those down a bit.
Okay.
So first we've got build.
Right. And this isn't about building the perfect finished product right away.
No, it's more about getting something out there quickly.
Yeah, like an MVP, a minimum viable product.
A prototype, basically.
Exactly. The bare minimum to test your core assumptions.
So you're figuring out what people actually want.
Right. Are you solving a real problem?
And then you've got the measure phase.
And this goes beyond just looking at, vanity metrics like website traffic.
Right. It's about understanding user behavior.
Yeah, like what are people actually doing with your product?
Where are they clicking? What are they ignoring?
Are they finding it easy to use or are they getting stuck?
All those things.
It's about real insights.
And then that leads into the learn phase.
This is where you analyze all that data and make decisions based on what you've learned.
Data-driven decisions, not just gut feeling.
Exactly. It's about taking the emotion out of it and looking at the hard evidence.
So you're constantly refining and improving based on what you're seeing.
Yeah, it's an iterative process. You're always learning and adjusting.
Which means admitting you might not have all the answers up front.
Right, and that can be a tough thing for some people to accept.
It's a humility thing.
It is. You have to be open to being wrong.
But ultimately, it's going to save you a lot of headaches down the road.
Absolutely, because you're not wasting time and money on things that don't work.
So it sounds like lean startup is all about efficiency,
For sure.
customer focus,
Big time.
and adaptability.
All crucial in today's fast-paced world.
And those are some pretty attractive benefits, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. They're huge advantages.
I mean, who doesn't want to save time and money?
Right, and who doesn't want to build something that people actually love?
Exactly. So you're mitigating risk.
Avoiding those big, expensive failures.
And you're staying agile.
You're able to pivot and adapt as needed.
Okay, so this all sounds good in theory,
Mm-hmm.
but can you give us a real-world example of how this might actually play out?
Sure, let's say our listener has a brilliant app idea.
Okay, everyone's got an app idea these days.
Yeah, it's the dream, right?
So they've got this amazing idea.
But where do they start?
That's the big question, right?
Well, instead of, spending a year building the perfect app,
Right, going all in,
they could start with a very basic version.
like a bare bones MVP,
Exactly. Maybe just a landing page with a sign-up form to gauge interest.
just to see if there's even an audience for this thing.
Yeah. Or maybe a clickable prototype that demonstrates the core functionality.
Something simple to get feedback on.
Remember, it's not about being fancy at this stage.
It's about getting something out there quickly.
And starting that feedback loop.
So they get that early version out there,
Right.
start gathering feedback.
Mm-hmm.
What then?
Okay, so now they move into that measure and learn phase.
Okay.
They're going to look at the data, see how people are interacting with the prototype.
Are people clicking on the things they thought were important?
Exactly. Are they using the app the way they envisioned?
Are they getting confused or are they dropping off?
What kind of feedback are they giving both directly and through their actions?
So it's a mix of quantitative and qualitative data.
Right. You want to see the numbers, but you also want to understand the why behind those numbers.
And then based on all that, they can start refining the app.
Exactly.
So maybe they need to tweak the design,
Make it more user-friendly.
add a feature that people are asking for.
Or even remove a feature that's not getting any use.
Or maybe they realize their initial assumptions about the app were totally off.
That happens sometimes.
And that's where the whole pivot thing comes in, right?
Exactly.
Like they have to drastically change course.
Yeah, it can be a big shift, but sometimes it's necessary.
So give me an example of what a pivot might look like.
Okay, so let's say they thought their app was all about connecting people for social events.
Like a social calendar kind of thing.
Right, but the data shows that users are way more interested in using it to find study partners.
Interesting.
So they pivot from a social app to an educational app.
That's a pretty big change.
It is, but it's based on real-world data, not just their initial idea.
And that's the power of lean startup, right?
Right.
You're allowed to be wrong early,
And it's cheap to be wrong at that stage.
before you've invested tons of time and money.
Exactly. So you adjust accordingly and move forward.
So it's not just about launching a product.
Right.
It's about validating an idea and constantly improving it.
It's about being flexible and responsive to the market.
And it's about treating your business like a scientific experiment.
That's a great way to put it.
You have a hypothesis.
You design an experiment.
You collect data.
And then you refine your hypothesis based on the results.
I love that analogy.
It really captures the essence of lean startup.
So it's all about empowering you to take action.
Experiment, learn, and build something truly valuable.
Without all the traditional risk.
And that's a powerful thing.
It is. So for our listener out there, what's one small experiment you could run today?
To test an assumption about your project.
Maybe you share your idea with 5 potential customers.
Get some honest feedback.
Or build that super basic landing page.
And see if anyone signs up.
The beauty of lean startup is you don't need a huge budget
Or a team of developers.
to get started.
You just need that experimental mindset.
And the willingness to learn as you go.
That's the key.
So go out there, test your assumptions.
And you might just surprise yourself with what you discover.
You never know what you'll learn.
That's the exciting part.
All right, that's all the time we have for today.
Thanks for having me.
It's been great having you on.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you next time.
Looking forward to it.
And until then, keep diving deep.
And stay curious.
We'll see you soon.
Bye for now.
Take care.